Ash here. Today I'm going to talk about my yoga journey. About 10 years ago, I fell on the ice and herniated a second disc in the lower part of my back. When I started therapy, the guy, my therapist had me doing all kinds of different sit-ups type things that were safe for my back but would build my lower abs. So I continued on with that, and I did so many different types of ab work that it led me to yoga. So I started doing yoga as really the only form of exercise I could do for a long time, and I really got into it. I started reading the original document from which yoga comes. It's called the Bhagavad Gita. I started subscribing to Yoga Magazine. I did yoga every day. I still do yoga every day. I don't read as much about it now as I did for the first 5 years because I'm reading for my master's degree. But the foundation is still there. And I used to be an avid runner. I wasn't like a marathon runner, but I loved the catharsis of running. And I did try to go back to running after my back healed, but I found that every time I started running, my back hurt so much, I just couldn't really run. And I found the words about yoga and meditation and finding peace with what you can do to be very helpful in the mental aspect of adapting to an injury. And the point about all of that is that when people who run or play basketball or baseball or racquetball, they get a catharsis, a real, and that's important. And I couldn't get that anymore. And I had to learn how to deal with the fact that I couldn't run anymore, which was more mental than it was physical. And so it was really reading about the philosophy behind yoga that helped me to deal with that life change. And I think there are a lot of athletes out there who, as we age, we realize there are certain things that are not available to us anymore. And it was years of me listening to that phrase that helped me put myself in less physical pain. So the idea that, so when you're doing yoga, all the poses are adaptable to whatever is available to you. And I love that phrase because if you're trying to do something and you just can't, well, it's not available to you on that day at that time. And after a couple of years, before I quit running, so this was 2012, I blew out my knee and had my third knee surgery. And during that time, my yoga instructor knew me very well. And after I had the surgery and I was recovering, she would say, "Jessie, this is not available to you today, so don't try it." And there are just so many wonderful ideas in yoga that the ideas combined with the movements and the breath really have helped me to establish a greater sense of peace with the chaotic world we live in. So my goal one day is to go to India to find the right yoga school for me. I've read so much about the origins of yoga that I know a lot of yoga has changed since it's gotten to the US, and that's fine. Everything we do changes when it's on a new continent, and I'm not upset that yoga is different here in the US. But because I am so interested in other cultures and the real thought behind all of these ideas that I've read so much about, I really want to find a school in India and get my yoga certification. So not necessarily that I can teach it, but just for myself, for my own self. So I do yoga every day. Sometimes it's in my office. Sometimes it's on my front lawn, back lawn, front step. You've probably seen me do yoga in an airport. I really don't care anymore if people think it's funny. This is me, and if I'm in an airport for 3 hours, I am gonna use that time wisely. I sit a lot because now I'm conferencing on Zoom all day, and if you're in airplanes in international travel, you sit a lot, so I need to stretch, and I don't care if people think it's funny in an airport. So I hope you find your own peace with coping with our bodies as they change, and that's my yoga story.